Hey, I took a week off work and made a video game instead. Also, it's the first complete video game that I've ever made. And as an added bonus, I've recruited 3 of my friends who kinda like video games but are not very good at them to react and critique my game. So without much more to say, let's take a look at my week. Day 1. On day 1, I started by doing what I do best, going to the gym and not doing game development. But that gave me a pretty good idea on what to make my game about. You see, I love weightlifting. There is nothing I love more in this life than picking up progressively heavier weight week after week, day after day, and seeing myself get bigger. I love it so much that I named this channel after it. Yolked because I like to think I'm pretty strong, and Egg because I am a bald man. Got a little egghead thing going on. So why not make a game about an egg that learns how to lift weights and gets really, really strong? Could be pretty cool. With my daily pump secured, it was time to go back home and get busy with actually putting that idea to work. Now, in my opinion, and hopefully yours too, I think all good games reinforce the story with the mechanics that fit the narrative that a developer is trying to tell. While I was in the gym, I rested in between my sets and I thought about all the reasons why I enjoy weightlifting so much. I landed on a theme of pushing through discomfort and overcoming difficult goals. What if you could achieve everything you've ever wanted by simply repeating the same action over and over again and establishing habits and routines around that action? And then it hit me. What's more repetitive than a clicker game? Now, I've played clicker games in the past, but I've obviously never made one before. I went ahead and I made a quick little egg sprite to set up the clicking functionality, and that wasn't really hard to do at all. There's an egg, and you click it, and when the egg is clicked, the score goes up. Easy enough. But it didn't really feel like much when you clicked on the egg, so I thought about how I could make the player feel like they were really lifting the weight with this little egg guy. I ended up landing on changing the frame of animation each time the player clicked, so that way the egg would lift the weight only as fast as the player could click it. This only gave me a little bit of difficulty, but it was fixed when I realized that I needed an extra frame to reset the animation and make it look seamless. At this point in the development, I was going for more of an auto-clicker type game, so I had a button that you could press to enable the auto-click, and each subsequent click of that button would make time go faster. But over the course of the week, that was giving me more issues than functionality. More on that a little bit later. Eventually, my wife came to bother me, and she got to play the earliest version of the game. There you go. Yeah, when it gets to 25, you can click the more click, and it'll do it by itself. Yeah.
Whoa, your thing is so sensitive.
Yeah. Look, it's going up all by itself.
And then I can add more?
Yeah, and you can add more.
Oh.
Yeah. With a thoroughly unimpressed wife, I made myself feel a little better by doing something that I usually do by myself anyway, looking at mostly nude and incredibly muscular men. Bodybuilders, to be more specific. I needed to create the sprite for the Egg God. Oh, who's the Egg God? He's just an incredibly jacked and stacked mass monster that lives in the sky and bestows new and powerful relics to the player. I wanted the visage of God to reflect an absolutely unattainable level of mass and definition. I ended up using a combination of pixel art and real-life references to create this character, and mind you, this is the first time I've ever used Aseprite for longer than 30 minutes at a time, so I am very impressed with the image, let alone the animation that I was able to obtain on day 1. I also set up and started work on my dialogue system, but that is boring! And I pretty much just followed a tutorial anyway, so I'm not going to cover it too much for the sake of time. All in all, I ended day 1 feeling really accomplished and excited at what the rest of the week had in store for me. If only I woke up with that same enthusiasm. Day 2. On day 2, I woke up with a cold shiver down my spine when I remembered something very important about video games. They usually have music and sound effects. I had a few options to deal with that issue, and I wasted a good amount of my time weighing out options and messing around with free softwares. None of that ended up making it into the final game, so I'm going to shove that into the don't look at that pit, and we can both pretend like I didn't waste 3 hours of my day trying to learn a DAW when my main focus should have been trying to make a video game. Not a great move for me. In other more impressive news, on day 2, I hit a deadlift PR, baby! For 3 reps no less. Pretty sweet if you ask me, but you're not here for gym clips, you want to see that juicy game dev sauce. Most of day 2 was spent on making sprites and tightening up the core gameplay of clicking the egg. I also made the entirety of the opening cutscene, and I finished my dialogue system, and there's really not much other to say than I became very familiar with Aseprite. I think I spent a total of around 8 hours just creating eggs and dumbbells, and another god sprite where he flexes his big, juicy, godly muscles, and keeps seeing visions of his big chest and broad shoulders, egg-shaped head. But most importantly, I made this animation. And that animation right there really set the tone for the game. Initially, I wanted the egg to grow arms and legs and eventually shape itself into a reflection of the egg god. That would create an ascension system where you could take the egg god's place and become a mentor to a new protagonist egg. I also wanted to make a system where you could add weight to the dumbbells and a whole slew of other mechanics. But when I saw the perfect 3 frames of animation that I had created, all of that went away. And frankly saved me from GameScope hell because despite my optimism, I was not going to come close to finish my core game loop in 2 days like I had anticipated. Spoilers. All I needed was a little egg that could lift weights when you clicked on them, and that was good enough for me. This fucking rules. This is the greatest game ever made. Day 3. On day 3, I hit the gym, and I also spent more time in Aseprite making the art for the consumable items, which function as click multipliers. I wanted to have a bunch of different gym-related consumables that would give you buffs for a limited amount of time before having to consume them again. There is whey protein, or a protein shake, pre-workout in the form of a White Monster energy drink, because it's a bit of a meme, and steroids. I had a good time making these. Aseprite was getting much easier to work with, and I even made these cute little sparkle animations like I did for the dumbbells. Now, getting these to work mechanically was not as hard as I thought. Similar to the egg, you click on them and they do their thing for a little bit, and then you click on them again. It was mainly the balancing and the scaling that I had a difficult time with. I fiddled with those settings so much and so often that I really think I probably dedicated an entire day's worth of work just messing around with those settings, and to be honest, I feel like it's not the best and could still be improved. The weirdest decision that I made with these consumables is that I kept trying to make them act as an auto-clicker instead of just a temporary multiplier. Again, the auto-clicking feature was not helpful and caused a lot of problems because it messed with time scaling, which in turn messed with how quickly animations were looping and dialogue was being shown. Would not recommend doing auto-click in the way that I was doing it. I'm sure that there is a way to do it in a way that isn't stupid and bad, but I did not figure that out. Overall, day 4 consisted of making a lot of sprites, some of which did not end up making it into the final game. Unfortunately, a lot of day 2 and 3 were spent in Aseprite just getting more familiar with that software and not really accomplishing all that much. Yes, I created a fair amount of art in these 2 days, but not as much as you would really think. As a very new game dev, it just takes time and a considerable amount of effort to be less bad at it. Day 4. Day 4 started out like every other day by hitting the gym. And I totally forgot to record, but here's me after hitting full body with my boy. We went and crushed some sushi, you know, nothing crazy, just like 30 pieces or so. Day 4 is also where I started feeling like I wasn't progressing in the way that I wanted. I felt like all of the work that I was putting into this game wasn't actually accumulating into something that was fun. Here I was, suddenly halfway through my week with very little to show for it other than some work done in Aseprite and an egg you can click. It was frustrating, and then I started to have some issues with the animations not lining up correctly, and I was at a point where I was just zoning out, staring at my screen as if I could stare at it long enough for the answers to just pop out at me. I hit a bit of a breaking point. Alright, this is about where I'm at. I'm gonna take the night off, because for the last 3-4 days, every single waking moment that hasn't been filled with chores and going to the gym, which is a chore, but it's a chore that I enjoy, has been dedicated to this project, and I am zoning out completely. So I'm gonna have a fun night with some friends, play a little bit of Slay the Spire. All the boys just happen to be free tonight, so I'm gonna play some Slay the Spire 2 with the boys because I love the boys. Maybe if I hit a clip, you'll see a sick recording of Slay the Spire 2 here. But what I did hit was a newly found inspiration and a revitalization of my interest in the game. I looked at a few examples of fun clicker games and dissected and learned from those games and applied what I thought might work well for mine. The way I had the game currently set up was you would click to the number threshold and then the egg god would interrupt and bestow upon you a new item or piece of equipment. Then you would enter a completely new scene, and it just felt like you were clicking to be rewarded with a cutscene. Ew. So now the way that I was going to structure the game was by putting the player through a small tutorial, then God gives you some dumbbells, you click for a little bit to learn that the score goes up when you click the egg, and you're off to the races. Unlocking click multipliers, new gym equipment that raises your base click power, all within the same scene, which should have been my first idea. But it wasn't. I don't know what you want me to say, I'm bad at it. But I'm learning. I think reframing the gifts was the best choice for the game, and it made the game feel much more cohesive and interactive because you, the player, were making the decision to receive the gift from the egg god, as opposed to him just waiting for you to click the mouse 50 more times and then jumping out of the bushes to throw a can of monster at you. Plus, you could just make the choice to just ignore God and his gifts altogether and just click to your heart's content if you wanted to. Day 4 was not the most productive day in terms of putting in tons of events or working on art, but Day 4 was important because it gave me more perspective on how to think about games as they're being made. When I set out to create this game, I had a million loose ideas that I was optimistically hoping would come together into something that was fun and enjoyable. But it wasn't until Day 4 that I had a much more concrete understanding of what can and what can't be accomplished with my current skill set. Knowing your limitations is the first step to understanding how to push them and expand beyond what you thought was capable. Day 5. Day 5, I hit the ground running with an actual game plan. This was the first day I actually buckled down and set a list of things that I needed to accomplish that day. I set out to complete the consumables, the gym equipment, the mechanics behind them, and... oh no. I forgot that music exists again! I knew I was not going to have the time to create music for this project, but I didn't want it to be a silent project because that sucks. Also, look at this egg and how strong he is. Do you think that this is a quiet character? Absolutely not. Luckily, my buddy and fellow YouTuber Karlik is also a guitarist, so I reached out to him. He liked the idea for my game and volunteered to write the entire soundtrack because he's just a nice guy like that. So please go give him a follow and check out his channel using the links in the description. Thank you. With music sorted and no longer a burden on my mind, I went to work on the consumables. At this point, all of my consumables were still auto-clickers. It was not very engaging and it felt very bad still. Without giving you a very long and unnecessary explanation, what I ended up doing was setting the whey protein to a 3x multiplier for 30 seconds and the pre-workout to a 5x multiplier for 15. I also allowed these to be multiplicative, which is just to say that they can both be active at the same time, and it becomes an overall 15x multiplier. That also fed back into what I was saying earlier about game mechanics needing to support the narrative that the game is trying to convey. In weightlifting, you'll often see that when you start adding in more recovery methods or hitting your protein goals, that you'll often see a reward that is bigger than if you were only lifting the weight. I understand that it's a mechanic, or rather a nod to the game's roots in actual weightlifting, that will likely go over people's heads if they aren't immersed in that kind of culture or mindset, but I felt like it was important for me to make that decision consciously as opposed to just letting it be that way for no reason. I also decided to abandon, or rather rebrand, the add weight mechanic. I already made the bench press, the squat, and the deadlift animations that were all originally supposed to be different scenes in the game. And instead of discarding those scenes, I wanted to allow those animations to be unlockable and reward the player with a higher base click strength. Bench is heavier than dumbbells, squat is heavier than bench, all leading up to the king of lifts, the deadlift. This ended up being the best possible choice I could have made for the game because I now had a real sense of progression for the player as opposed to the really bad and dumb way that I was doing it before. Day 5 was far and away the most effective day for game development. Day 6. Day 6 tested my patience like no other day. Like Day 5, I set out with a list of things to accomplish before the day was up. I needed to have the consumable interactions completely operational and fun to interact with. This was also the day where I added in the unlocking system for all the add weight upgrades. With the exercise unlocks taken care of, I moved on to the consumables again. I had almost concretely established how I wanted to implement these. It mostly came down to making sure that the consumables were readable in a way that the player would know that it was time to click on them or their cooldown was reset. I initially wanted to implement radial timers that would display how long the player would have left until they could click on it again. This proved to be a little more intense than I had the time for. Instead, I settled for changing the opacity of the icon and changing the text to give the players a visual indication that the consumables were ready to be clicked on again. This is very important for later. However, during testing, I kept having this weird issue where my score and my multipliers just started displaying a crazy amount of decimals, even though everything was set to a round number and even forced to be round through code. Most of the day was dedicated to diagnosing and solving this issue. If you really want to learn more about this and the frustrations I had, I will or have already released a video breaking down how the game functions. Little code breakdown, if you will. So I'm going to push that into the don't look at that pit along with all of the other time-wasting activities that I indulged in. I did accomplish my goals for Day 6, but it definitely took much longer than expected, and I still did not have functionality for steroid use hammered down, but that would have to be done tomorrow. Day 7. Day 7 hit me hard. I had a mostly fully functional game, but I also had to start and complete the entire final section of the game. I really did not want to compromise on having a big finale piece in the game. It felt like it would be an incomplete experience without it. Luckily, the only thing I needed to make was new sprite for Egg God, and the hard part would be over. Or at least that was my initial thought. Before I could even start on that, I had to figure out how I was going to do steroids in the game. At this point, I still had the steroids set as an auto-click function for some reason. I had my wife play the game and it went completely over her head. She had no idea that it was implementing a higher score passively, and my wife is the smartest person in the universe, so if she doesn't realize that that's what's happening, then nobody will. So I went ahead and I took out its auto-clicking capability and I changed it to be in line with the other two consumables. One, because it just makes sense to have all of the consumables have the same functionality. Two, because I only have two consumables. And three, because the auto-click idea was stupid from the very beginning. I ended up setting the steroids to give you a 10 times multiplier for 5 seconds, which might seem a little high, but you have to ultimately reach 1,000,000 points in the game, so I wasn't too concerned about it. What I was concerned about was the finale piece. In most RPGs, that equates to fighting God, which I was not opposed to. Originally, I wanted to have a pose-off bodybuilding competition against him, but that would require an absolutely insane amount of art and a full-on redesign of a whole new mechanic that I simply did not have the time for. So I went with fighting God instead, and I think it went pretty well. The setup was very simple. God on one side, Egg on the other. You click on God to damage him, click on the egg to heal him. I put the consumables in there and you had yourself a boss fight. And before I knew it, the game was what could be described as done. The only thing left to do was to let people play the game. So that's what I did.
It's pretty cool, Opity. Pretty cool.
Let's check out settings before we do anything. There's music. That's pretty cool. I can quit. I don't have to play it at all if I don't want to.
Click upon me to start your journey. I'm gonna click on his belly button.
Click to heal thyself. Surprised you didn't do more clicks.
Click to shape your form. Ooh, yeah, come on.
Oh, I gotta keep my egg. Okay, keep it on the egg. I can't click off. Okay, yeah.
That's it, son. No, he got little arms. Look at him.
Lift heavy, fight hard, and become yoked. Oh my god, I'm fucking onto it, man. Ooh.
Do I have to click those things? Can I do that? What is that? I gotta get 500 points. What are these? Okay. What is this? Can I click this? Can I click this?
Wait, 5,000 clicks? 5,000 clicks?
Receive blessing. Oh, yes, please. Look upon me, for I am not only God, I am the way. Oh, God.
Okay, I can't do it in there.
This is gonna hurt my fingies. I hope you know that. I am possibly recovering from carpal tunnel.
Oh, let's see. Now it's back to 1 time, so I need to take some more way.
Is he really gonna get me to sit here and click a mouse 5,000 times? No way.
Receive blessing. I now bestow upon you another gift. It's a monster.
There's a lot of toxic masculinity in this game, man. Oh, dude, we got fucking roids.
All right, so we have ×1 multiplier, ×3, and then if I do this, ×15, so we got ×3 and a ×5. Dude.
Surely you don't have like 5,000 increments, man. When do I get my times, my fucking multipliers, huh?
Hit the bench. Build your yoke to earn the squat rack. Do ×75.
Dude, this is just like a prank. Like, oh, let's get Pixel Sean to click on a mouse to see how high he goes. How many clicks will he go up? This isn't even a real project, man. This is just a big ass prank. I know it.
Embrace my yoke and become who you were meant to be. I'm gonna inject his own yoke into me.
When do I get my rides?
Okay, are we ready? Are you ready? Boom! You are not.
Let's see. So we got ×75 with that. Dude.
Oh my god, you click on them, and then you get multipliers. No! No way, dude! Fuck off!
I gotta like actually slow down because like it hurts. I want to hurry up and do this, but it's like there are no shortcuts.
Dude, this game's easy now that I have the abilities. I mean, you could make it a little harder, dude.
You made it this way on purpose, and that's actually it's very smart. I like that.
Times 300. Wait, actually, times 1500.
And I'm sure like you're gonna make it to where like the longer you do this, the more you do this, maybe like the easier it gets because you get like power-ups like with the protein powder and pre-workout and such. Because I assume that's what's up in this little corner here. Like that would make so much sense, right? Like that's so smart.
All right, kill your glutes, dude. This is actually like addictive as fuck, man.
Oh shit! I overclicked it. Woo! Where is he? Oh!
The scaling feels good. Ignore what I said about the individual clicks.
Get another one. Hell yeah! I clicked through that way too fast. I'm sorry. I got too excited.
Let's go. More roids.
Juice up.
Bro. You gotta take this out. You can't have this.
Commune with God.
Develop your yoke to 1 million, and you may have the privilege to meet me as equals. Now go for. All right, we gotta get to a milli.
Oh my god, if I do them all at once? Oh, let me try. Okay. Oh, look at me, I'm getting smart. I'm learning.
Should we drop back down to no multipliers and just do the rest with single clicks? Commune with God, dude, we did it. I am God now.
It's easier when you click the buttons that you're supposed to. Wow.
I have become yoked. Wait, what?
Oh shit.
What is this? What? No.
I see. I need to click him down while not letting myself get too low. This is the ultimate challenge.
Am I trying to beat him? So I click. Oh, I click him.
I am an hour and 20 minutes into this. What the fuck?
I like how the cracks come back. That's a pretty sweet design.
No, that's evil. This ending is evil.
Alright, so we're pretty much just absolutely destroying this guy.
I don't need to click myself too much, you know what I mean? Because if I get a good enough lead, I feel like I just spam him down.
Bro, easy. Get out of here, mate. Oh, we're going to the negatives. Oh, fuck.
Negative.
Wow, okay. I made it to the... Oh no!
This is actually a really fun game, man. Once I figured out how to play it, and it's not just individual clicks. Very nice. Very nice.
That was pretty sick. I like that. That's a cute little clicky game.
Dude, that was sick. I really liked it. Wow, this indie dev has a lot of potential, I think. I think he's really cool and great.
This has been painful. This is not intended for weak bitches. Bro, it hurts. My arms, they hurt. I am in pain. I need to go eat real protein now.
Am I proud of what I have accomplished? Absolutely. Do I think it's fun? Yeah, I've played it quite a few times since finishing up the project, and I think it has a lot of character, plus a lot of love put into it, and seeing my friends play the game and have fun absolutely embarrassing themselves on camera made the whole week and all of the frustrations that came along with it completely worth it. But that brings up a very interesting question. What needs to be improved? What should I do differently in the future, and what did I learn from all of this? There are a lot of things I wish I had the time to put in the game. I wanted to have some minor voice acting, sound effects, clearer UI, which clearly I should have spent a little bit more time on. I ended up sacrificing a lot of those for the sake of time, which I ultimately think was the correct call. If I wasted any more of my time on frivolous things, I would not have been able to complete the project. In fact, I actually had to go back and add in the main menu, technically, after the time was up. I think the biggest issue I had working on Become Yoked was my lack of knowledge and experience. I am incredibly new to GDevelop and making games in general, so of course there is going to be a lot of wasted time spent on very simple issues. I really enjoyed this project, and I may even return to it again at some point to really pull out all the stops and make it the most well-rounded game that I can. Big, massive shout out to Karlik again for helping me with the music in the game. It would have been a very quiet and very boring experience if it wasn't for you, so please go give his channel a follow. He makes a ton of indie game reviews, and he's a pretty great guitarist. Shout out to John for playing the game. My man rides a motorcycle and takes very cool videos with all of his very expensive and impressive collection of video equipment. Give him a follow at Amateur Aperture. And then there's Sean. Please take pity on my boy as he is getting absolutely bodied in the group chat. Go take a look and subscribe to his YouTube channel where he reviews and streams all sorts of gaming content ranging from the classics to modern releases and some games that aren't even out yet. Please let all of the creators know in their comments section that you found them from my video with their links in the channel in the description below. And while you're there, go ahead and chuck me a little subscription too if you're new here, and I will eat an egg for every new subscriber on the video. Or maybe not. Okay, bye.